Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of We Got Next here on Sports Fluence. That's right, We Got Next Plus, a special draft day presentation. I'm Ricky Hampton, along with former Milwaukee Bucks center Paul Mokeski, coming to you on a uh, Thursday evening here on the East Coast, Thursday afternoon on the West Coast, and we hope everybody's doing well. We hope your team made some moves today. And Paul and I thought it'd be great to just spend a few minutes going over what just transpired in the National Basketball Association. Because, Paul, this could be a day championships are won or lost, or at least you put yourself in a position to win a championship or maybe not win one.
Yeah, I mean, let's go over first of all the teams that didn't make moves, like the Lakers, Sacramento. Clippers are on the uprise, but those guys did not make moves. Miami, but there's two different situations out here, Ricky. One in the East, right, where Boston is 5 games ahead of everybody. They're 5 games ahead of the Cavs, 6 ahead of the Bucks, 6 ahead of the Knicks. So really, with 31 games left, to try and make up 5 or 6 games to get in the first spot is really, really difficult. So really, what those teams are really doing is trying to get the second spot, which is a tight race, right? You got the Bucks, the Knicks, you got Philly, you got Indiana. They're all going for the second spot. So because if you get the second spot, you avoid playing the Boston Celtics till the East Coast Finals. So that's what you look at, the Knicks and Bucks and Philly making moves because they want to get to the second spot. In the West, it's the opposite. You have 3 teams tied for first. Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Denver are literally all tied for first.
Yeah.
And then you have the Clippers, who are only a half a game out too. So those are 4 teams looking for the number 1 spot. So it's a different scenario for teams in the West than it is for the East.
Yeah, that's a great point. So Mo, with that said, how do you think some of these teams have approached the trade deadline? And let's start in Philadelphia with the 76ers, who picked up Buddy Hield from the Indiana Pacers. And we know the Sixers don't have Joel Embiid right now, but he will be back.
Well, yeah, they're saying 4 weeks, but we all know that's not right. It's going to be 6 to 8 with a cartilage with a guy that size, but still gives them a chance to get a few games in before the playoffs. And, so they shored up. I had thought on Monday they were going to look for a big to take that spot, maybe Drummond, someone like that. But they went the other way. They went to try to find some scoring in Buddy Hield, who he's only averaging 12 points a game this year. Because he's 31 or 32, he's going downwards. But he's a capable, a few years ago, he was a 25-point-a-game scorer, and everybody was after him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what they did. They went for scoring to see if they can, play a little different and, try, they're going for second place with everybody else. So, they're going to try and outscore teams. So I think they went that way. That's what Philly did, which kind of surprised me. I thought they would go someone to fill that spot till Embiid got back like a Drummond.
And actually they shot the 3 ball pretty well this year, Mo. But one of the criticisms I heard from one analysis, it was a criticism in his mind, they don't shoot enough threes. They only shoot 16 threes a game. Well, why should you shoot a lot of 3-pointers when you got Joel Embiid shooting threes sometimes, but scoring at will all over the place?
Yeah, because 3 ball is the way to, multiply, go on runs and score. So, but we're going to see that right now. You got Buddy Hield who shoots 38% from the 3. So now they're going to shoot more threes and we're going to see where they're at. Here's the problem then. When Embiid does come back, he changes your whole scenario. You throw it to him on the elbow, you throw it to him on the post, he can score at will. And that's where so now they're gonna shoot more threes and we're gonna see if they can keep their spot. The problem is when Embiid comes back, they're going to have to make an adjustment. It's not like, so if they would have picked up, say, Drummond, I keep saying that name because he's the big that was out there, and he
Right.
just plays and he gets 10 boards a game and 10 points, and they play the way they usually do. And then Embiid comes back and Drummond goes to the bench or goes over to the four. No big adjustment. But when you bring in a Buddy Hield, it's going to be an adjustment when he comes back.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Paul. Was there any moves that stood out to you, or was there any moves that didn't happen that stood out to you? You mentioned the Lakers not doing anything over there. They are currently, I think they're 9. Um, Let me see where they are in the West. They
Yeah,
are
they're in ninth behind Dallas.
8.5 games out of first place, and 3 games out of the third spot, out of the 5th spot.
Yeah, so the third, 6th, 8th, 12th doesn't matter. You need to get to the 4th or 3rd spot or 2nd spot so you have home court on the first round, right? So that would be their goal, and they didn't like what they saw out there, and they kept they're going to have some value. They're going to have some moves they can make in the summer. So to me, it kind of put everything on hold till the summer. And hope that they do a miracle like they did last year and come in from the play into the finals in the West. So, they didn't like what was out there. And here's the deal, a trade deadline, this isn't fantasy basketball, man. You got to make salaries work. You got to make egos work. And if you have to give up too much for someone, it's not a wise move. Sometimes it's better to stand pat instead of making a move that really, it's not an equal move, so you're going to stand pat and wait for the summer, and you still have LeBron, you still have AD, you still have Russell, who is up and down. You still got a chance in the West to do some damage, right? Because there's so much equality in the West.
Yeah. Hey, was it a trade out there that you liked? And the trade, was there a trade you didn't like?
Yeah, I think the New York Knicks took advantage of your Detroit Pistons for sure.
I totally agree with that.
I mean, the Knicks, first of all, last week they made a trade and got OG Anunoby, right, who averages 15, 4, one of the best corner three-point shooters in the league, plays defense, really athletic, great fit for that team. Then they don't wait, right, because they're moving up. They're trying to move up into the 2nd spot, and they went and got Bogdanovich, who is averaging 20 points a game and shooting 47% from the 3. That's ridiculous. And a guy that can knock down tough shots. And then they also picked up, a smaller 4, Alex Burks, who's can score and rebound. He's been there before. So they gave up a couple second rounds and Fournier, who the Pistons might waive. They did a great job. I mean, when you look at the Knicks roster now, right? If they're healthy, they got Brunson, Randall, and Bogdanovich, who all average 20 plus, 20, 24, 27. You got Anunoby, you got Hart, you got Harkenstein, a great backup. You got DiVincenzo, who's playing great, and you got Ochura, who's averaging 7 and 6, and a great young player. So you're a solid, and they actually play defense, unlike some teams like the Bucks.
Yeah, and Alec Burks is a solid veteran that I think he had 25 for the Pistons last night.
I mean, he's very capable, and he knows. I mean, the Knicks are making moves to probably get them into the East Finals this year, and then maybe a run in with the Boston.
Wow.
And they also didn't give up the farm, so they can actually get a little better in the summer and make a run for all of the marbles. And wow, wouldn't that be something to have the New York Knicks back in the NBA Finals in a year or so?
They're currently in the 4th spot, just a game out of the 2nd spot. Hey, Mo, and we hadn't seen playoff basketball in the Garden, and in a while. What was it special for you to go there and play? You always hear people talk about that, and if it was, or was it just another road trip?
No, the Garden is something special. First of all, you're in New York, and then you're in the Garden. I mean, that and where it's located, right in the city, and all the cabs and restaurants around there, and yeah, it's a special place to play, and there's not very many left, really. I mean, the Boston Garden isn't the Boston Garden anymore.
Yeah.
So, the New York Garden, I had one of my best games there. I think I had 23 and 12 or something like that. And, all the media's there. And, it's an old building. Locker rooms aren't great. Floor is pretty good. Lighting's great. And the fans are awesome. So, it's a great, it means something. And especially in a playoff series. I mean, when I was with the Bucks, playing a playoff series against Atlanta or someone like that yeah, it's exciting. But playing against Philly in the Spectrum or Boston in the Real Garden, that's the next level, man.
Yeah, and the crowd can be great when they get going there. Hey, Steve, thanks for checking in, brother. Patrick Beverly to the Bucks. I was going to ask you about that, Mo. They definitely need defense, and Patrick is still a good defender.
Yeah, I mean, he's he's what they needed. I mean, he's not the guy he used to be. He's tough. He's physical. He's an ass on the floor sometimes, and he can defend and get in your face. That's what the Bucks need. They don't have that. Is he a Holiday? No, but is he? They didn't have to give up really anything for him. So, and he's a presence in that locker room and on the court and in the huddle. And the only thing that's going to be interesting there is like he's been given Lillard crap for years and years. And I saw he had mentioned today, first thing I have to do is I got to fix that relationship with him ASAP. And, he's one of those guys that you hate when he's on another team, but you love when he's on your team. He's
I
one of
was
those
going to ask
guys.
you about that. Would they work through that?
Sure. I mean,
Because you both
obviously,
want to win. Yeah.
I mean, obviously things aren't going great right now, right? They're still in second spot, but they're underachieving. So do you want to just keep doing this and keep doing that, or do you want to get someone in that's going to make his presence known, hold guys accountable, and let's make a run at this thing? If I was him, that's what I would say. Listen, the past is the past. Forget about it. I'm on your team now. I'm on your side. We're brothers in this, and we're going to freaking go and make a run at this thing and get a championship ring. Let's do it. That's what I would do. And I think I've talked to a couple of people over the last couple of days because we talked about the Bucks and stuff. And to me, and they've seen it. A friend of mine was courtside, sitting right next to the bench when they played here in the play-in turn, not the play-in, in the early season tournament. And he had just mentioned that Lillard doesn't talk to anybody, really doesn't acknowledge anybody. I don't know how much he is in this thing, and that's a problem if he's not in it. And maybe this move, bringing that personality in the locker room, will get him stirred up a little bit.
Yeah. Steve was asking who's the general manager of the Detroit Pistons. That would be Troy Weaver, whose job has to be on the line after this. Just been a disastrous stint for him in Detroit. They released Killian Hayes, who was their seventh. He was the seventh round pick for them. I think 3 years ago.
The seventh pick, not the seventh round.
Yeah, seventh overall pick for them. Picked ahead of Halliburton, who everybody was saying, "God, this is the guy to take." So yeah, it's just gone terrible in Detroit. Somebody said the Pistons should not be allowed to make trades in the NBA.
That happened before, right?
What's that?
That the NBA did not let the with Ted Steffi, the owner of the Cavs in Cleveland, they did not let him trade anymore because he was trading all his picks for these older guys and just making a shambles. They didn't let him pick. They did not let him make trades. They didn't let him make trades for a year or two. Yep.
Yeah. Hey Mo, what's it like when you're a player on a roster? You hear your name in the media. Are you, especially nowadays with Twitter, all these social media platforms, is it possible to blank that out? And if you're hearing that noise, what do you do?
Well, you got to blank it out. I mean, I was traded. I think it was the only time I've ever been traded. I think I've been cut, I've been waived. Um, but the first time I was traded was uh, my second year in the league when I was in Houston, my rookie year, and then came back, went through all the training camp, and a couple days before the season opened up, they traded me to Detroit for a second round draft pick. And, I was upset. They had told me I have a chance to make this team and did some other stuff. And, I was really upset. I was pissed off. I mean, I was like beside myself. And a couple people like my wife Linda and actually Rudy Tomjanovich and Calvin Murphy, guys that I became friends with, I actually said, "Hey Mo, you can't look at it like that. You can't look at the team that's trading you. You got to look at the team that's picking you up because they want you. So you need to focus
Right.
on the
Yeah.
team that wants you, not be mad at the team that doesn't want you." And that made a huge difference. And little did I know that really the next year was probably my best statistical year in the league. When I went to the
Yeah.
Pistons, I was starter off and on with Kent Benson. I played every game. I averaged 8 points and 7 rebounds, and proved to me and probably other people in the league, players and coaches and front office, that hey, this guy is really he's a viable big
He's
in the NBA.
he's an
He's
NBA player.
He's an NBA player, and so you got to take it like that. If you're bitter, and it's tough. Listen, you know, I was lucky because I hadn't really bought a house or anything in Houston and was traded to Detroit. Oh wait, then the second time I was traded from Detroit to Cleveland a month after I bought a house in Detroit. So yeah, and I had to take that with a grain of salt too. That was tougher because I was married. I bought a house, and now I got to go from Detroit to Cleveland, which wasn't a very good team. And I knew Detroit with Isaiah Thomas, Kelly Tripucka was up and coming, and that was a hard one to swallow because some of these guys, it's all we're human beings, right? So not only do you get traded, not only do you have to move your family, not only do your kids have to go to a different school, not only are they looking at you going, why do we have to move again? We just made all these friends. We'll never make friends again. Yeah, you will. We did it before and you'll make friends, but it's a tough thing. And, if you're adding like, let's say you get traded from uh, uh, Los Angeles to Cleveland.
Yeah.
or South Point or South Beach in Miami to to India. I mean, that's another shocker. So you really gotta. It's tough mentally. It's a business. As soon as you realize that, I mean, didn't Philadelphia just give the key of the city to Morris, and he got traded the
Yeah.
next day?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Pistons won the championship, and Rick Mahorn was cut the next day. So it's a
Right.
business, and being traded is part of the business.
Hey, Paul, and I know the answer. I'm just putting it out here for our viewers. Some of the so-called bigger names that did not move. We heard a lot about the Marlboros and DeJounte Murray, Wiggins, Kuzma, some of these bigger names not moving. But explain to us why sometimes that doesn't happen. I know a lot of it, like you say, is not a fantasy league these guys are dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen because the trade doesn't work for one of the teams. So yeah, we want Wiggins, but now you're asking for this starter and 2 first-round picks. We're not doing that. And then the negotiation goes back and forth. And okay, give me 1 first and 1 second. But no, we're still not doing that. That's why those things don't get done. So you got to give up something good to get something good. But what you don't want to do is give up something good and get something bad back. And that's where the general managers and all the all the scouts and everything in the teams, they have to make these decisions. And sometimes it's last second. I mean, I bet there's teams on the phone, you know, 30 minutes before the trade deadline trying to make a big decision. And sometimes the best decision is no decision, is just to pass on what they're offering.
And let me get everybody caught up. You're watching We Got Next with former Milwaukee Bucks center Paul Mokeski. Paul played 12 years in the NBA, was part of those outstanding Milwaukee Bucks teams that challenged for the Eastern Conference title, coached and scout in the NBA and all over the world. One of the most knowledgeable basketball minds we have in the game today. So we're lucky to have him here with us this evening. And I'm Ricky Hampton. Mo, we're new to Sports Fluence, and we have all these new visitors. And we have a question here, Mo. Were you surprised LA didn't do anything? LA Lakers, that is.
Yeah, I was. Obviously, they've been struggling. I think they're in ninth spot or something
Ninth, yeah.
in the playing, and they obviously have holes in their roster. So I am surprised. And here's what comes into play a little bit too that people don't realize. So, they were probably big time thinking of a move a week ago, big time talking to a bunch of teams. But what happened was they went on the road and they beat I think the Celtics, and they beat the Knicks, and they beat some good teams one time without even LeBron or AD playing. So
they beat Boston without.
Yeah, so now they're thinking maybe we're not as bad as we think we are. So let's hold back on this and not sell the farm now because they don't have many assets. They don't even have a first round pick they can trade till 2029.
Right.
So they don't have a lot of assets, and they're in a position if they give up a good player, and even if they get a good player back, it doesn't increase your team that much. So I think they viewed everything and said it's just not worth it. And timing is a big thing too in the NBA. Sometimes a month or two with free agency and salary cap issues, you have a lot more flexibility maybe 2 months from now, 3 months from now than you do right now. So you're thinking, well, maybe we won't make the stopgap decision right now. We're going to hold on, hope for the best, and then next summer we're really going to maybe make a run at something. But long story short, I am surprised they didn't make some kind of move. Yes.
Hey, Mo, do you think they look up at the standings and say, "Yeah, we're ninth, but Oklahoma City, that's a really good team, but they're young. Minnesota, that's a really good team. They're young. Yeah, Denver, we know they can be be a problem.
But we want another crack at them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, do you think they look up and say, "Oh, we don't want to deal with any of them," when you know you still have LeBron James and Anthony Davis?
For sure. And like I said before, the West is totally different than the East. The East, you're going for trying to get the second spot. Some of those the other teams, and you got 5 teams that can get us the second spot. That's huge. But in the West, that's the wild, wild West again. If you have the 7th, 6th, whatever spot, or do you care if you're playing Phoenix or Minnesota or Sacramento or Dallas? You don't care. You're gonna have, and then you're gonna have to play a decent team, but you think you're just as good as them anyway. The team in the West, and I think this might be their year, and overall is the Clippers. The Clippers are healthy now. They have one of the best rosters in the league. I told you that a year ago.
Yeah.
They're healthy. Harden has fit in great with them. They're on a run. I think they're 8-2 in the last 10 games, and they're in the 4th spot right now. But they're only a half a game out of first.
Hey, Paul, let's go back to the East because Cleveland didn't do anything today, anything major. I don't think they made a move at all. But they're now 33-16. They won 7 straight, 9 of 10. And they started the season a little just, ho-hum. Not too bad, not too good, just rolling on. But they really seem to be kicking in the gear. Are they what do you think about them? They disappointed that in the playoffs last year. The Knicks handled them in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, they're young. I mean, like, they're young, they're talented. They have a really good starting 5, but they're not very deep. And in the 7-game series, you better be deep. You got to go 8, 9 deep in a series, a 7-game series, because it's a battle. And it's about momentum, injuries, availability, who you're playing. You're if you're Cleveland and you go and beat Orlando and you know the Chicago and you beat up on them a few times and you make a little run. So it's all about runs. But I mean, look at Indiana, right? The in-season tournament, Indiana is going to win it all. Remember that?
Yeah.
They're in sixth spot. So it's all about momentum. The most important ability in the NBA is availability of your players. But it's this mad scramble. Cavs, Bucks, Knicks, Philly, Indiana, maybe Miami for the second spot. So and Cleveland's on a run, so they're probably saying, "Well, we just made a run. We can keep this up." And all the while, we keep saying, right? They're young, they're young, they're young. But guess what? Every week they play, they're getting more mature and more experienced.
Yeah. Hey, Dallas made the move. They got P.J. Washington. They signed Grant Williams over the after last season, and Seth Curry, and they traded P.J. Washington from Charlotte, and for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a first round pick.
Yeah, I
Does
mean,
that do anything for Dallas?
well, number one, it makes him younger, right? He's 25 years old. He's 6'8". He's averaging 14 points, 5 boards. He's really got skill. He can put on the floor, do a lot of things. And, he's going to help them. And they never, for whatever, Seth Curry, who's a great three-point shooter, never got any really burn there. And Grant Williams, for some reason, I thought that was a big pickup for them, but maybe he's injured or whatever. He could be someone in the future that's maybe he gets waived and they pick him up. But in my opinion, Dallas, got a little better, but they didn't address the situation, right? They don't have a center. They don't have a big that compete with AD or the Joker or any of those guys. So,
Boy, I'm surprised nobody went after Andre Drummond, who's played well for Chicago off the bench this year. And I don't think Drummond might make $5 million a year. He doesn't
I think
cost a
less.
lot of money these days.
I think less. I think two or
Yeah.
three. So he's a bargain. But here's Chicago probably said, we're not giving him up. We're going to keep him. Unless you give us a first round pick, or unless you give us a younger player back, we're just going to keep him. So you can see that negotiation. Well, he ain't worth a first round pick, so you're not getting that. Well, then deal's off then. Because the Bulls aren't. I mean, the Bulls don't have to do it. They're not going anywhere. So unless you get what you want, you can play hardball. It's unfortunate for Drummond because I think he could help one of these other teams, even like a Dallas.
Hey, Paul, how are these teams? You scouted in the NBA for years. Are when you're on the road looking at teams? Do you know? I know you notice other guys, but do you go back and tell the personnel guy, "Hey, if we get a chance, this PJ Washington's a really good player down in Charlotte." Did you?
Sure. I mean, there's a chain that goes on, and
right. Yeah.
I was an advanced scout. I wasn't a personnel scout. Two different things. So
right. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. So if I'm making a suggestion, it depends on the ego of the person that's ahead of you. He might say, "Hey, I don't need your information. Do your job." I don't care if you played 12 years in the NBA and you know what you're talking about. That happens. It did happen to me, by the way. And the guy told me, I saw a guy play. I can't remember somewhere, and I brought it up, and when I went back and said, "This guy, he can play in this league, and he's good," and the guy, he's not an NBA player. Well, that guy went on and played 10 more years in the NBA. I mean, he's a three-point shooter. I'm like, so do I note it? Yeah, but I'm cautious about it unless I had a really good relationship to the person, because my job is to scout the teams, their tendencies, their plays. But yeah, I would, and then during the summers when the summer league and, if I go to a G League game, I would write up stuff. But yeah, I mean, you note it, but, there's scouts that do that now, in my opinion. A lot of those scouts in the NBA don't know what they're looking at, don't know what they're looking for. It's like college. You're a 4.5-star athlete, or you're a 4.5-star player. What does that mean? Who's telling you that?
Right.
Because there's basketball IQ, There's competitiveness. That's why I like Wimbyamba and Holgram, because they compete. They play hard. A lot of
Yeah.
guys don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense to me. Mo, we just got a couple of more minutes. Uh, any final thoughts about what you saw today and what we should expect? These new guys will take, or to take a week or so for these guys to get ingrained with their new teams.
Yeah, it depends on what team they're with and who it is. The other move that I like was OKC got Gordon Hayward, right?
Yep.
And we talked about that Monday. I told you he was a guy that I'd be looking at. The guy is averaging 15, 5, and 5. He's a veteran. He can make shots. He's been there before, and OKC picked him up because they're really young. Like a guy like that will go into OKC and fit in right away, and so it's going to take a little while for some of these guys, but the Knicks impressed me with what they've done. I mean, Bogdanovich is a heck of a player. You've
Yes, he
seen him.
is. Yes, he
I mean,
is.
and you add him to what they have, and
And
you
he
know,
competes too, Mo. He competes, man.
the other team, that made the deal a week ago was Indiana with Pascal Siakam, who is a really
Yeah.
great player, and so that's overlooked because that wasn't done at the trade deadline,
Yeah.
but it's really much a trade in the trade deadline area. But the Knicks,
Think about that Toronto championship team. All those core pieces are gone.
yeah.
Siakam, Lowry, Kawhi,
Well,
and
Kawhi was a 1-year rental for Toronto.
yeah.
They knew that, so he had 1 year left, and he was a free agent. So they got their championship, and he moved on. So you got to move on. They don't. Nick Nurse is not there anymore. All their players aren't there anymore. So that's just life in the NBA.
Yeah, but that banner's still hanging up there.
That's right.
So,
I mean, what do you play for? Championships, right? So you got one. A lot of teams don't have one or haven't had one in 15 years.
yeah, yeah. Hey,
Watch for the Clippers, though.
Hey, look, we'll be back Monday and we'll expound on some of these conversations we had tonight. Just want to get everybody upgraded. We want to thank the people at Sports Fluent. Check out our show there. And we'll be here Monday at 9 p.m. for We Got Next. For my great friend Paul Mokeski, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody. Have a great week.
Super Bowl.
Go Chiefs, baby.
Go Chiefs.
Thanks, Mo. Talk to you later.
Man. Yep.